It's an exciting Monday afternoon. We are here once again to take a look at issues as they emanate from this wonderful continent of ours, Africa. On the program, Africa Discourse, I am Wilson Marshall. Paint this picture. A democratically elected president sacks democratically elected governors and replaced them with military personnel as heads of a province or what you call states. And it used to impose 1 year curfew, no state of emergency, so to speak, due to massive protests by the people he's governing. You get to hear some aspect of the military called strike force or strike team going from city, towns, villages to enforce the rules and regulation of this once democratically elected president that is ruling over military governors and a state of emergency for 1 year, all because he wants to remain in power. That is the Sudanese situation. And that is what is going to form the crux of our discourse on today's edition. And I really want you to sit back, relax, and know what is happening in that country. A country that was once united, separated. The South Sudan, they have their own problems, fights here and there. The Sudan now that is on its own unrest. What in the world is really happening? With me here in the studio to throw more light on this discourse, I have a clergyman, a political analyst, political affairs commentator. Join me, welcome Adima Henry. Welcome to the show, sir.
It's a pleasure.
I appreciate you coming.
Always a pleasure.
All right. And we are still expecting Barrister Chima Williams, a legal practitioner, to join us in course of this discourse. Here we are, a democratically elected president. People like to say that he's acting like a dictator. After all, he sacked the governors of each state of that country of Sudan and replaced them with military personnel. How do you feel about this?
What has happened in Sudan is nothing but a coup.
A coup? Could you please throw more light on that?
Nothing but a coup. Invariably, what the president has done is to set aside the constitution of the country. And it baffles me when leaders, who call themselves leaders, who are elected, presumably elected, to protect the interests of the electorate, they turn around and do the otherwise. For crying out loud. Why the state of emergency? Because there is uncontrollable protest. That on its own speaks volume. It shows that the president is no longer wanted. His style of governance is not acceptable to the people that is being led. So, imposition, that was it's a despot. Because ordinarily, one will ask, you can imagine the wanton destruction. There is nothing good that comes with protest. Because along the line, buildings are going to be touched. Along the line, there are going to be skirmishes here and there. And there are bound to be casualties. So what do you gain? You say you want to lead your people and your people are dying in their thousands. What do you stand to gain? If of a truth you are there to govern, to lead your people, to give them the good essence of life, then if they say they no longer want you, so be it. So be it.
So be it. Now, there are some pictures or some videos I don't really want to show because they are offensive, morbid. I had to do some editing thanks to the editor. You get to see people being shot. You get to see people being brutally manhandled by military personnel. You get to see professionals coming out in mass leading this group. Now, it's like professionals are are tired of sitting behind the scene. In Algeria, it was doctors that came out in mass to say enough is enough. Now, in Sudan also, we have professors leading groups saying enough is enough. You get to see women, children. I mean,
the picture speaks, the clips that we are seeing speaks for itself. It shows that these are people who say we no longer need your style of governance. So if there is no ulterior motive, there is no special interest, then why do you have to impose yourself on your people? It shows that these leaders we are talking about, that they really don't have the interest of the people they presume to be leading at heart. Everything about their leadership has to do with them, and them. Otherwise, what do you stand to gain when you see the people you are leading? They are being slaughtered on a daily basis. The question you ask yourself, why are these people protesting? What is it about me that they don't like? What is it about my government that they don't like? So if there's something you can change, fine. If you cannot change it, so you throw it the towel. And the sad thing about it that these same people, they keep manipulating the constitution, keep extending their stay in power, and because those who are benefiting, some people are festing their nest through it. They are collaborators in this evil act. What happens to the National Assembly? Don't they have a National Assembly? Their conscience have been compromised. So they are not taking side with the presidency. Otherwise, the National Assembly has the power to call the presidency to order. But because compromise has taken place here and there, then they just stay aloof because they are benefiting from the extension. They are benefiting from the evil rule. I was listening to your program yesterday, one of your programs, and I was listening to Mr. Osakwe, and he said one thing, that if these people actually have the interest of the masses at heart, no man will kill anybody to want to ascend to the throne. And he told us about a friend who said he wanted to go into politics in Nigeria and has some money, how many thousands of dollars that he's expected to be sending home for the campaign. And he told him, my friend, if you really want to make impact in the lives of your people, invest this money, take them off the street, engage them. He said you will be one of the people that will be remembered for life. Because when you come to, look at all the killings, look at the election we just had. Is that election? Look at what is happening in Rivers.
Anyway, we'll talk about that in other platforms, but not
in this platform. Because when you look at it, my brother, it's a vicious circle. What happens in the state, what happens in the local governments, what happens in the national, and it spreads across Africa.
All right, now let's go back again to Sudan, because al-Bashir is like some of the reason why he chose to replace these democratically elected governors is because they just can't coordinate their states. They allow these protests to fester, thereby destabilizing the peaceful tendency of Sudan. And that will not allow this set of people to bring Sudan to its kneel. They can only kneel before God, not before mere mortals.
You know what he's doing? He's just looking at the symptoms. He has not actually found out what is the root cause of this problem. Will a sane man suddenly wake up in the morning and just pick up placards and say this, marching on the street? Will a sane man do that? Something is responsible for the agitation. So the needful thing that he ought to have done is to find out what has given rise for this agitation. So if you are not addressing the root cause, he's really postponing the evil days. Because he has gotten to a point when people say, okay, keep killing. A time will come when you don't have anybody to kill. The people are there for you to govern. When the people are no longer there for you to govern, who you govern? You begin to govern ghosts. El-Bashir is just postponing his doomsday. Permit me to use that word. Because the doomsday will certainly come. It may not just be now, but he's just only buying time. It's only buying time. A time will come that even the military that they are put there will get fed up. And will say, I hands up. Because the people that they are killing, the people that they are maiming, they are not foreigners. They are the nationals of that nation. In one way or the other, they have blood relationship. So it flows. He's just only postponing the evil day, as far as I'm concerned.
He's just only postponing the evil day as far as you're concerned. Before we go into a military intervention, him using military to fish out the SUDAN, so to speak, does it mean that a country that chooses to be in its own, talking about separating and succeeding in Africa, taking an example of what is happening in Southern Sudan, and in Sudan, that seems not to be a good idea?
Okay, I ask you a question. The separation came as a result of a solution, as it were, to agitation.
Of this same agitation.
Has the separation brought about the solution? It hasn't. And I keep telling people say, oh, let all the regions of Nigeria, for instance, let's go on our own. Said, the moment you have addressed a major problem, a minor problem will arise. Because when we are talking about the ethnic group, we are talking about the major ethnic groups. But when you break it down, within that minor ethnic group, there are now emerge a major. And the minor that was not recognized in the major becomes consequential. That is why you see the issue of breakup is never a solution. We can see it from Sudan. When the South broke away, they have as much crisis that more than they would have had if they were together as a nation. And like I said, the symptoms are always being treated instead of the root cause. Now we're talking about looking for dissidents. Why are there dissidents within the armed forces? Because there are people who are disenchanted. There are people who are not just comfortable with the style of government. They are not just comfortable with what is happening. They belong to the system. Forget whether they are army. They belong to the system. They belong to the larger system. They don't operate in isolation. They don't live in isolation. They live amongst the people. You may say, oh, they live in the barracks, but they have the same market. They attend the same market. They don't have a different economy where they operate. So the thing bites out on each and every one of them. And like I said, putting the military there is not a solution. Dissidents are coming, right? They are rising up and say they are trying to fish out those dissidents. Before you know it, the number of the dissidents outweighs the number of the loyal one. I foresee a coup happening in no distant time.
You foresee a coup happening in no distant time?
And I can assure you, because of what is happening in Sudan, the Western world will most likely support any coup that may happen in that place, but with a caveat that ensure that a democratically elected government is put in place.
All right, and before we talk about the influence of the Western world, take a look at the clip. He still has supporters. He has them.
He will definitely have supporters.
Now,
let me tell you. No, listen, let me tell you.
They were dancing with him. That means they're in support of him.
Listen, let me tell you.
Because he said there should be peace in the land.
Listen, let me tell you that he will always have supporters. Because people are feasting on what is happening. The disunity that's happening, the crisis that's happening, somebody is feasting on. People are, feathering their nest through the crisis. You most definitely, the worst despot in the world will still have followers. The worst despot will still have followers. So now, if he sees that when he removed the democratically elected governors, well, because that they couldn't control, they couldn't nib in the board, right?
The crisis in their states.
In their states. Then, has he been able to nib in the board the crisis in the nation, in the country? So, he is as guilty as the governors. Who calls the shots? Who controls the army? Who controls the police? Who controls the air force? Is it not the presidency? When you talk about that the governors, they are the chief security officer in the state. But remember, they equally have a central police, whose boss is appointed by the presidency. What are we talking about? The governor of a state, for instance, has no power to change area commanders. But yet, he is the chief security officer. Who does the changing? Who does the swapping of these area commanders? Is it not the commissioner of police? Or who appoints the commissioner of police? Is it not the IG? Using Nigeria as a case study.
So are you not saying
so the buck is unstable?
You mean that Omar Bashir right now is a dictator?
He's a dictator. If there's a better adjective to qualify, that is what he is. You were elected on a platform, not the same way the governors were elected. It's just like what will happen when the governor will just wake up and say, I've sacked all local government chairmen. These are local government chairmen that were democratically elected by their own people, grassroots, and say, this is the person we want to represent us. This is the person we believe in. We believe in his ideas, we believe in his courage, we believe in them. Then the governor just wake up one night because he doesn't like the face of the chairman and said, we'll remove you. But the president cannot on his own remove the governor. You see the irony of life.
Wow. Bigger coup, smaller coup. But that region, if you take a look at the Sudanese region, when there used to be one, it used to be religious intolerance. And right now, we have social disturbance. That means we don't want to agree to the fact that the problem goes deep down beyond religion.
I've always said it in all fora. I've always said it that it's our leader, the elite, that want to use religion, to create crisis amongst the people. We've never had religious problem. The elites want to use, because they believe that that is a very dicey area, that want to touch on the sensitivity of a people, and they want to trigger it because they know that there are areas, these are areas that people hold on tenaciously to. In the real world of it, there is nothing like Christians, Muslims, traditionalists, we cohabit, we live together. But the politicians are the one, because they just want to create crisis. Let me tell you, for every crisis we have, somebody is becoming a millionaire.
For every crisis,
somebody's enriched, somebody's feasting on it. How do you get the arms and the ammunition? Somebody has taken as a responsibility to import arms, and it's not doing the charity work. It's feeding on it. So, for as long as that crisis persists, the man buys to the bank, not minding the lives that will be wasted. That is just the truth. People benefit for crisis. They benefit from crisis.
All right. Now, see, talking about crisis, do you see this thing degenerating into a civil war? Because it's like today they're in crisis, tomorrow they're in crisis, months ago, weeks, even at this particular point in time, they are still there protesting and lives have been lost. Do you see it degenerating into a civil war?
Regrettably, I see it. Regrettably. Because there's an extent to which you can cow the people. There's an extent to which you can see the demonstration, the clips that you are seeing. They are resolved. You can see the determination. It's either this time, it's a case of break or bend. Some of them have said, is life even worth living? Is life even worth the trouble? So if I die in the course of fighting this, then so be it. So it will not get to a point, like I said, it will not get to a point that the people on their own, the ones who have been given arms to fight against their own people, it will get to a point, it will drop in their consciousness that enough of this. So then, crisis may come, further escalate than it is now. You can imagine all the way the way he have been sacking people. They have been sacking people left and right and right, center. Families are disorganized. Families are disillusioned. So life in that nation has been unbearable. And people will just see it as an opportunity for them to, let's see, it's just like the case of the leprous people in the Bible. Say, if we remain here, we die. If we venture to go into the city, perhaps, who knows? And they took the bull by the horn. You know, at the end of the story. And it became, their story is being read today.
Okay, now, what is really the problem with African countries and, of course, the leaders? Is it that the constitution is not strong enough to put leaders in check, or the leaders are stronger, way more stronger than the constitution? What seems to be the problem here?
Desperation. Desperation, desperation, desperation. See this sit-tight syndrome. And you know, our leaders, the African leaders,
yes,
they have so enriched themselves to the extent that they use the weight of the nation which they have siphoned into their personal use to oppress the people they're supposed to lead. A hungry man can do anything. A man who has been deliberately impoverished, he would do anything to survive the next day. You have seen in Africa, you have seen so many African leaders who are richer than the state. So with so much quantum of money at their disposal, so they can get anything at their beck and call. There's quantum of money in their disposal. I know this is not an issue for discussion. You can imagine an individual so rich to the extent that he can literally move the bank to his premises. And he told Nigerians that you don't have the right to ask me how I use my money. I was listening to one of your programs. That within this election period, there are some people that EFCC they appointed their searchlight. How many billions of naira that have been withdrawn within the space of this election period? Nobody's asking questions. Nobody's asking questions. We discover that the richer you are in this country, the more powerful you become, and the more influence you control.
So is that what the African leaders are using to put themselves virtually in power?
My brother, there's no better word to use. You see, that is, for example, like I said, where are the National Assembly members in Sudan? Are they telling me that what is happening today, that they are comfortable with it? The National Assembly members, they were elected by the people. They campaigned, they canvassed, they went there and solicited for their votes. And it was given to them. That's why they are the National Assembly. The governor did the same thing. They went through the same hall. And somebody just woke up. Like we're always told that when you are disenchanted with your leader, wait for the next 4 years or 3 years, as the case may be. Then you use your
voter
card to make a decision. Watch me. The period of time that people were elected, this crisis, we have lived it. Mark my word. This crisis, we have lived the tenure of those governors that were the coup, that were overthrown. Because it was, like I said before, it was a coup, nothing short of a coup.
Wow.
But unfortunately, it's using the machinery of the states to perpetrate the evil. Using the taxpayers' money to perpetrate the evil. Using the taxpayers' money to arm people to take up arms against the people that are paying the taxes. What a life.
What a life. Sudan crisis, impact of military intervention. There are some videos I choose to jettison because it's so gory. Okay, you get to see people being shot. You get to see them bleeding. You get to see them struggling for survival. You get to see them struggling just to hang on to life. Anyway, after this break, when we return, we are going to take a look at the role of the AU in all these crises emanating from different parts of Africa. In Algeria, they have their own fair share in Libya, Sudan, South Sudan. You just name it. Central African Republic is like it's boiling. The African Union, are they alive to the responsibilities? Then we'll take a look also at the position of France, even the US, because we have various interest groups in Africa. What are they really doing to quell this crisis? Sudan is not just the only country undergoing this, how I put it now, tempestuous change, so to speak. South Sudan also is being affected. Algeria is there that protested that, look, this man, you know what, it's a contest. You know, lots and lots of it. We'll be right back after this break. Do stay tuned. Thank you so much for staying tuned. It's all about the Sudan crisis, impact of military intervention, because that is what Omar Bashir, the president of Sudan, is using right now. I choose not to bring in some videos because they are so gory. Get to see military personnel open fire on a civilian. You get to see some people just drop it. You know, it's truly gory, but that's just to tell you what is happening in Sudan. In Cameroon, we have issues. Algeria, we have issues. Sudan, South Sudan, Central African Republic, Libya, you just name it. There are issues in the continent of Africa. And here we are, an African organization being headed by Al-Sisi, the president of Egypt. Nothing, according to reports, is being done to really make sure that this continent is a continent of peace. AU, what is really happening?
EU is just a conglomeration of heads of government who have one interest. And the one interest is the interest of membership of the union. You were just rolling out the list. In Africa, just tell me the nation, apart from Nigeria, maybe a few ones, that you don't have crisis. And the crisis is centered on the style of leadership. Find out all the nations that have problem in Africa. The root cause is anchored on the style of leadership of the leader. That we don't like your style of leadership and we are tired. So these countries, these nations, the leaders that have this sit-tight syndrome, is it the one that will tell the other nation that what you are doing is not good? If we had a majority of the EU members standing out and say the right thing must be done, once your people, the yardstick to measure the acceptance or otherwise of a leader is the relationship between it and the people that are being led. So if the people that are being led have come to say, we don't need you any longer, my brother, that speaks volume. So what should have been naturally done is for the leader to say, the people I am leading, at a point they called me to lead them, but now they are tired of my style of leadership. I don't have special thing I gain in this seat. I throw in the towel. I give you an example. When we talk about integrity, I once led a union, a group in this Edo state. And I led them for 3 years. On the 4th year, I believe being on the side of law. I believe in doing what is right. That you belong to a group doesn't mean that it's a license for the group to do what is not acceptable. But when they say, no, as a union, we must be ready to fight for... say if he has got into that, thank you very much. Let another person. I throw in the towel. And I have my peace. That is what is expected of leaders. I tell you today, if you make me the governor of Edo State, which I don't aspire at all, I don't a desire to be. And the moment I discover that my style, I may have a style I want to lead, but if that style, my style of leadership, is not bought by the majority of Edolite, my brother, thank you very much. This is my style. But if you don't like my style, they have it that way. That is what is expected of leaders. What he's doing, my brother, is just a time is coming. You have a nation of ghosts. There's hardly any family that will not be bereaved. What kind of a nation is that? Because of your personal interest?
So now, are you now saying that the AU, they have this collaboration within themselves not to interfere?
Yeah, the one that are thieves, permit me to use that word, they are more than the one that have the interest. So they are overwhelmed. Because the countries in Africa that have crisis, they are more than the ones that don't have crisis. And I told you, find out what is the root of the crisis. The root centered on the style of leadership, that we don't need our leader. At the time you came to power, the Constitution says no one individual has the monopoly of leadership, my brother. And the law understands this. And they said, you are entitled for Nigeria, okay, you will stay for 4 years, the maximum of 8 years. After that, there is another person too that has the knowledge. The knowledge of leadership doesn't begin and end with you. Otherwise, therefore means that if you drop there today, the country goes down. That is what they are just saying. After your 4th year, you have made the first term, second term, fourth term, you kept adjusting. You kept adjusting, you kept amending the constitution. To now to get basically we are giving you a lifetime. So when you eventually dies, then there's nobody to take over from you. You remember it won't happen with this nation. When we believe that you have just only one person that has the mental ability to lead this country. All the political parties in the land, they adopted one presidential candidate. But no sooner the man dropped dead, people came out to say, yes, I am evidently qualified to lead this land. Interest, like I said, everything surrounds around interest. And this interest has to do with his personal greed. What that man has amassed for himself, if he leaves the seat of power today, for the rest of his life, generations yet unborn, they will not suffer. But what does he start to, what gain is he making from the lives that have been wasted by the day? The economy is getting down on a daily basis because now no progress is made in an environment of rancor.
All right, now you just hold on. I want to go on a break. We'll be right back. It's all about the Sudan crisis, the impact of military intervention. Do stay with us. Thank you so much for staying tuned. With me here in the studio is Honorable Henry Adima. We're taking a look at the Sudanese crisis. Omar Bashir still talking of replacing elected governors with military personnel, saying that the governors don't have the wherewithal to maintain peace and stability in their various states. And right now it chooses to impose 1 year state of emergency across the country. But professionals, doctors, engineers, you just name it, they're coming out in their numbers to protest, saying enough is enough. And we'll have what we call the hit squad of the presidency of that country, so to speak, going out to enforce the bidding of Omar Bashir. What do you think this will lead to? Now let's take a look at the economic angle. Protest today, protest tomorrow. Do you think that that country will be economically viable if this protest isn't put to stop?
You know, I told you in the course of the discussion that I foresee a major coup.
Yeah.
There's a temporary coup that he did just on the segment of the government.
But he doesn't call it that.
It's a coup. Whether he calls it,
you just can't handle your state, let the military take over in that state.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. It's a coup. Once you have seat a democratically elected government, it's not a short but a coup. And the coup he did was at the province level. And I told you, I did say that a time is come when the general coup is going to happen. Now, the economy of that nation is being bastardized. As I speak to you now, no foreign investor will open his eyes and come to Sudan with his hard-earned money with a view to investing there. Those who are already there, as they watch the situation, if possible, capital flight is coming now. What happens is that they will move because no business can thrive in that environment. So they move to a more convenient and encouraging and promising economy for them to invest in. No tourists, underline, will come to Sudan for tourism. So the problem is multifaceted. That's why I said he cannot survive it. And I encourage the EU. I encourage the Western world to step into this situation by first of all giving sanctions. When sanctions are given, it's a third world nation, so that is a third world. There's no way it can survive it.
Now, you're talking about the EU, Western nation, AU, but it's like they've been quiet all this while. If it would be a country, according to
Interest.
all right?
Interest. If they're investing in Sudan, the West will not invest in the nation when they don't have interest. If they put in $10,000, $10 million, what are they expecting in return? They are not charity organization. So if there is no something of interest in Sudan, you not expect them to intervene. But we are saying, let everything not be on interest, but let's look at securing the human lives. The sanctity of human life must be protected. This is where we call on well-meaning nations, nations of goodwill, to step into the case in Sudan so that peace can be restored. El-Bashir cannot survive the momentum from if this demonstration is anything to go by. It cannot survive it because the economy is going to ground to a halt before you know it. And the person that is going to come after him is the one that is going to suffer it. Wow. Because the economy would have been grounded and it would take him looking for the cooperation, all hands being on deck for him to be able to build the economy. But why will a leader do that? If a leader that actually have interest of his people, have the interest of the nation, your nation must outlive you, my brother. But for most of these despots, you say, it's either I make it or the nation goes down.
And finally, to call it a wrap on this show, this question has been hitting so many persons in Africa, saying so many things that are happening in this continent. Is democracy gradually coming to an end in Africa? Because take a look at various countries. For the way the leaders are like, leading, you're like saying this may just be the end of it. What's your view on it?
Okay. In my elementary government, we're told that democracy is defined as government of the people, for the people, and by the people. But that definition doesn't hold sway of late. Because it means that government by the people, that if people will choose. So the power of having to choose is being gradually withdrawn from the people. So once that one is withdrawn, it therefore means it is no longer a democracy. So what makes democracy tick is the power of the led to decide who they should give their consent to. But when that is being circumvented by the power that be, then it's no longer democracy. That's why we always say democracy is at a threat. It's being threatened. I cannot but make reference to the just concluded Nigeria election.
Now, well, we're not talking about that on this platform. Let's just leave it at that, not on this platform. So if democracy is gradually dying in Africa, what form of government should African best practice?
I think there is no alternative to democracy. There is just no alternative to democracy. Because if you want to make the people have a sense of belonging, then they should be involved in the choice process. And the choice process is democracy. So if that power of having to choose is being taken away from you, then whatever comes, that's why you see people have resolved, they have resigned to fate. And resigning to fate is not a solution. Somebody will say we'll get it right someday. But I just pray that the environment is conducive enough. But because the power that be, they have amassed so much wealth, they have used their power to impoverish the masses, the generality of the masses. Because the man is hungry, the man is ready to do any dirty thing so that he can be sure of his next meal. Otherwise, there are the things that are happening today naturally ought not to have happened. But people, the voice of the people have been mortgaged by financial inducement. And who created the near poverty situation is those who are in power. I ask on a closing note, if my interest is to lead my people, and your interest is to lead our people, we are together, must we kill ourselves to lead our people? Must we oppose ourselves to lead our people? If the interest is actually to lead our people, their interest is their pocket.
Wow.
Try this. Make politics as uninteresting as it is today in terms of financial inducement. Up to today, just like you don't know the cost of what it costs, what is the official cost for a Nigerian passport. The same way you don't know what our Nigerian legislators, what they earn. Why is it shrouded in so much secrecy?
All right. Thank you so much, Honorable Adima, for this wonderful discourse. Well, Professor Chuma Williams couldn't make it to the studio due to unforeseen circumstances. Not to worry, you can get to hear from him in course of other editions of Africa Discourse. I really appreciate your wonderful analysis. 1 hour, one-on-one.
Always my pleasure. Always my pleasure.
All right.
My pleasure.
Now let's see if Omar Bashir will really survive this, because it has gone beyond the common masses. Let me use the word common masses. Right now, professionals are coming up. The lawyers, the doctors, the engineers, the politicians, the women, artisans, you just name it. With one voice, they are saying, Omar Bashir, enough is enough. We want freedom. That's what they're saying. We want freedom, freedom, freedom. And of course, the special hit squad, so to speak, they are going from province to province trying to forestall law and order, but still the protesters, they are not backing down. Mind you, Omar Bashir also having some people. They are there singing his praise, they are dancing. So let's just see how this story will unfold. But is this the beginning of the end of democracy in Africa, or democracy is undergoing a metamorphosis, or a kind of a stage that will make it better for Africans to really appreciate the tenets of democracy? What we do here is to report so I get to know what is happening globally, even in Africa as a continent. I'm Winston Marshall, signing off.